Intro. Merriam-Webster defines sublime as follows. Adjective A. Lofty, grand, or exalted in thought, expression, or manner. B. Of outstanding spiritual, intellectual, or moral worth. C. Tending to inspire awe, usually because of elevated quality as a beauty, nobility, or grandeur, or transcendent excellence. Noun. Something that is sublime. In simpler terms, Merriam-Webster's definition describes the sublime as something that is elevated, impressing, or inspiring, often due to its exceptional beauty, nobility, or grandeur. It could also refer to a feeling of awe or admiration inspired by such qualities. One of my favorite poems is How Can a Fish Drown in Water? I find that fascinating and a paradox at the same time. Signposts are all around us, but do we have the eyes to see? When I came back from India over 50 years ago, I thought that everyone would be interested in finding the jewel that exists inside of us. I was wrong. Very few people were interested in any way. I've written over 80 books in the last 7 years. Each one of these books weaves the web of the sublime to every facet of life. The sublime is staring us in the face, yet we are texting on the freeway of life. Did you know that every single moment in your life could be sublime? I'm not joking when I say that. Imagine having a life where the good, the bad, and the ugly occurs to you. This is called life. Nobody gets a free ride. I mean, nobody gets a free ride. I often say that the wise person lives in the center of the hurricane. Most humanity lives in the hurricane winds of the mind. We are like leaves blowing in the wind. At times, our life is just like a boat drifting down the stream. The next moment, we are sailing into a hurricane, scared out of our wits. Troubles and problems will always be there. The key is to how to live in the present moment and simply watch them without getting identified with them. This is called the sublime state of mind, the sublime state of being. In this state, one wakes up in the morning and says, "Wow, I'm alive." Every single moment is precious. Every single moment is a state of being sublime. Many people say, I write too many books. I say that I research life and its endless creations. I never stop learning. Every day I grow in wisdom and understanding of this world. I experience more and more the thread about the sublime that ties everything together. I must admit I will never master this subject, even if I studied for 1,000,000,000 years. That would still be a drop in the bucket of eternity. To be honest, we live such petty lives. We don't have time for the unknown. We think we have all the time in the world. I'm 70 years old now, and I see that many of my friends and family are no longer here. I look back on my life, and it seems just like yesterday. I learned how to surf. For most of my life, I've been pursuing an understanding of the incredible process of birth and death. You see, when I was young, I was fearful about dying. While in India, I discovered meditation, and it brought me a direct experience that life and death are the same thing. Everything is born, and everything will die, including the universe itself. But behind that is your true nature and the sublime. You were never created, nor will you ever be destroyed. That is the fact of life. Ask any quantum scientist and they will say that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. I think my next book will be about the quantum field. I have a few ideas in mind. Hopefully you will enjoy this book. It offers a small perspective on the sublime. To be honest, I would need to write over 1,000,000,000 pages, and that would still be insignificant. I hope you find out that the jewel truly does exist inside of you. The sublime, a literary and philosophical concept. What is the sublime? How can we experience it? Why is it important for literature and philosophy? These are some of the questions that this chapter will explore. The sublime is a complex and elusive concept that has fascinated writers, artists, and thinkers for centuries. It is a term that refers to a certain kind of aesthetic and emotional response that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. It is a response that involves awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure. It is a response that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding of ourselves and the world. The sublime is not easy to define or explain. Different authors and critics have given different meanings and interpretations of the sublime, depending on their historical, cultural, or personal context. However, some common themes and characteristics can be identified in the various accounts of the sublime. In this chapter, we will examine some of these themes and characteristics, as well as some examples of the sublime in literature and philosophy. The origins of the sublime. The word sublime comes from the Latin word sublimis, which means high or lofty. The first known text that discusses the sublime is On the Sublime, a treatise attributed to a Greek writer named Longinus, who lived in the 1st or 3rd century AD. Longinus defines the sublime as a certain loftiness and excellence in language that produces ecstasy in the readers or listeners. He argues that the sublime is not a matter of rules or techniques, but of a great spirit. Longinus' treatise was recognized in the Renaissance and translated into several languages in the 17th and 18th century. It influenced many writers and critics who were interested in the sublime, such as Nicholas Boileau, Desparlix, John Dryden, Joseph Addison, Alexander Pope, Edmund Burke, Immanuel Kant, William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Perry Blythe Shelley, and John Keats. These writers and critics developed their own theories and versions on the sublime, based on their own experience and preferences. The sublime and nature. One of the most common themes in the discussion of the sublime is the relationship between the sublime and nature. Many writers and critics have argued that nature is a source of sublime feelings and impressions. They have described how certain natural phenomena or landscapes can evoke a sense of wonder, terror, or pleasure in the observers. For example, Edmund Burke, as 18th century philosopher and politician, wrote a famous treatise called A Philosophical Inquiry into the Origins of Our Ideas of the Sublime and Beautiful, 1757, in which he distinguished between two kinds of aesthetic responses, the beautiful and the sublime. He defined the beautiful as that quality or those qualities and bodies by which they cause love or some passion similar to it. He associated the beauty with smallness, smoothness, delicacy, brightness, sweetness, harmony, proportion, clarity, orderliness. He defined the sublime of whatever isn't fitted in any sort to excite the ideas of pain and danger. Whatever is in any sort terrible or operates in a manner analogous to terror, he associates the sublime with vastness, darkness. Longinus and his treatise on the sublime. Longinus is a name given to the unknown author of a famous work of literary criticism called On the Sublime. This work was written in Greek, probably in the 1st century AD, and is one of the earliest and most influential texts on the concepts of the sublime in literature and art. The sublime is a feeling of awe, wonder, and admiration that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. It is a feeling that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding of ourselves and the world. The sublime is often produced by things that are great, powerful, beautiful, or terrifying, such as nature, God, or human genius. Longinus wanted to teach his readers how to write and speak in a way that can produce the sublime. He gave many examples of good and bad writing from different authors, such as Homer, Plato, Cicero, and others. He also explained what makes writing sublime, such as great thoughts, strong emotions, noble words, and beautiful figures of speech. Longinus believed that the sublime was not a matter of style and techniques, but also a matter of personality, of imagination. He argued that the sublime is the echo of greatness of spirits, that is, the moral and creative power of the writer that pervades his work. He also suggested that greatness of thought, if not inborn, may be acquired by emulating great authors such as Homer, Demosthenes, and Plato. Longinus' treatise on the sublime is very important and influential on the history of literature and aesthetic. It is one of the first works that recognizes the role of the writer's personality and imagination in creating the great literature. It is one of his first works that appreciate the emotional and physiological effects of literature on the reader. It has inspired many writers and artists from different traditions and times, such as Dante, Milton, Burke, Kant, Shelley, Wordsworth, Keats, and many others. A philosophical inquiry into the origins of our ideas of the sublime and beautiful. A philosophical inquiry into the origins of our ideas of the sublime and beautiful is a book written by Edmund Burke, a famous British politician, writer, and philosopher. He published the book in 1757 when he was only 27 years old. It is one of the first and the most influential work on the concept of the sublime in literature and art. The sublime is a feeling of awe, wonder, and admiration that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. It is a feeling that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding of ourselves and the world. The sublime is often produced by things that are great, powerful, beautiful, or terrifying, such as nature, God, or human genius. Burke wanted to teach his readers how to write and speak in a way that one can produce the sublime. He gave many examples of good and bad writing from different authors such as Homer, Plato, Cicero, and others. He also explained what makes writing sublime, such as great thought, strong emotions, noble words, and beautiful figures of speech. Burke believed that the sublime is not only a matter of style and techniques, but also a matter of personality and imagination. He argued that the sublime is the echo of greatness of spirit, that is, the moral and creative powers of the writer that pervades his work. He also suggested that greatness of thought, if not inborn, may be acquired by emulating great authors such as Homer, Demosthenes, and Plato. Burke also distinguished the sublime from the beautiful. The beautiful, that is, which is well formed and aesthetically pleasing, whereas the sublime is that which has the power to compel and destroy us. The presence for the sublime over the beautiful was to mark the transition from the neoclassic to the romantic era. Burke's books had a great impact on many writers and artists from different traditions and time, such as Dante, Milton, Burke, Kant, Shelley, Wordsworth, Keats, and many others. It is still considered one of the most important works on aesthetics and literary criticism. The sublime in nature, examples and analysis. Nature is one of the most common and powerful sources of the sublime, a term that refers to an aesthetic and emotional response that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. The sublime is a response that involves awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure. It is a response that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding ourselves and the world. In this chapter, we will explore some examples of the sublime in nature, drawn from various historical periods and artistic genres. We will also analyze how these stories convey the sublime through the use of language, imagery, sound, color, shape, symbol, story, and example. We will learn how the sublime in nature can inspire us, challenge us, and transform us. Example 1. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, 1889. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, 1899. The Starry Night is one of the most famous paintings by Vincent van Gogh, a Dutch poet, impressionist painter who lived in the late 19th century. The painting depicts a night scene of a village in southern France with a whirling sky full of stars, a crescent moon, and a bright yellow object that may be a planet or a star. The painting also shows a dark cypress tree in the foreground, a church tower in the middle ground, and hills and mountains in the background. The painting is an example of the sublime in nature because it expresses Van Gogh's intense emotions and visions that transcended the ordinary reality. Van Gogh painted the Starry Night where he was staying in an asylum in Saint Remy de Provence, where he suffered from mental illness and loneliness. He wrote to his brother, Theo, that he wanted to paint the starry sky painted by night and as a symbol of hope. He also wrote that he felt a terrible need for religion that he saw the infinite in nature. The painting conveys the sublime through the use of color, shapes, and symbol. Van Gogh used contrasting colors of blue and yellow to create a dynamic and dramatic effect. He used swirling shapes to create a sense of movement and energy. He used symbols such as the stars, the moon, and the cypress tree to suggest his spiritual aspirations and struggles. The painting creates a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in the viewers who are invited to share Van Gogh's vision of nature. Color. Van Gogh used contrasting colors of blue and yellow to create a dynamic and dramatic effect. Blue is a cool color that can suggest calmness, sadness, or mystery. Yellow is a warm color that can suggest brightness, happiness, or energy. By using these two colors together, Van Gogh created a contrast between the dark and the light, the night and the day, the cold and the warm, the quiet and the loud. He also used different shades and tones of these colors to create depth and texture in his painting. Shape. Van Gogh used whirling, swirling shapes to create a sense of movement and energy. He painted the sky, the stars, the moon, and the object with curved lines and circles that make them look like they are spinning or dancing. He also painted the cypress trees, the church towers, and the hills with sharp lines and angles that make them look like they are pointing or reaching. By using these shapes together, Van Gogh created a contrast between the smooth and the rough, the round and the straight, the soft and the hard, the fluid and the solid. Symbol. Van Gogh used symbols to suggest his spiritual aspirations and struggles. He painted the stars, the moon, and the object as the sources of light that can represent hope, faith, or inspiration. He painted the cypress tree as a dark and tall figure that represents death, sorrow, or isolation. He painted the church tower as a small and distinct structure that can represent religion, tradition, or authority. By using these symbols together, Van Gogh created a contrast between the natural and the artificial, the personal and the social, the individual and the collective. Example 2, Ode to the West by Percy Bysshe Shelley, 1819. Ode to the West is one of the most famous poems by Percy Bysshe Shelley, an English romantic poet who lived in the early 19th century. The poem is addressed to the west wind, which Shelley sees as a powerful force in nature that can destroy and create. The poem consists of 5 sections or cantos, each with 4 stanzas or terets, followed by a couplet. The poem follows a complex rhyming scheme of ABBA, BCD, CD, DEE, EE. The poem is an example of the sublime in nature because it expresses Shelley's admiration and fear of the west wind, as well as the desire to be inspired and transformed by it. Shelley wrote Ode to the West Wind while he was living in Italy, where he witnessed political turmoil and social injustice. He also faced personal challenges such as the death of his children and his estranglement from his wife. He hoped that his poetry could change the world for the better. The poem conveys the sublime through its use of language, imagery, sound, and symbol. Shelley used poetic devices such as alliteration, west wind, assonance, loose clouds, consonants, personalization, metaphor. He also used imagery from different seasons, autumn, the sublime, a feeling of wonder and fear. Have you ever seen something so amazing and scary that you feel like you could not look away? Have you ever felt a mix of wonder and fear when you saw a huge mountain, a stormy sea, a dark forest, or a bright star? Have you ever felt small and big at the same time when you faced something that was bigger or stronger than you? If you have, then you have experienced the sublime. The sublime is a word that means high or lofty. It is a word that describes a feeling that goes beyond the normal and the ordinary. It is a feeling that makes us feel excited and nervous, happy and sad, curious and confused. It is a feeling that challenges our senses, our imagination, and our understanding of ourselves and the world. The sublime is not easy to explain or understand. Different people have different ideas and opinions about the sublime, depending on their age, culture, and personality. Some people think that the sublime is only found in nature, while others think that the sublime can be found in art, music, literature, or even in everyday life. Some people think that the sublime is good and beautiful, while others think that the sublime is bad and ugly. Some people think that the sublime is rare and special, while others think that the sublime is common and ordinary. The sublime is a concept that has been discussed by many writers, artists, and thinkers for a long time. They have tried to define, describe, and explain the sublime in different ways. They have also tried to create and capture the sublime in their work. They have used words, images, sounds, colors, shapes, symbols, stories, and examples to express their views and feelings about the sublime. The sublime is a concept that can help us learn more about ourselves and the world. It can help us to appreciate the beauty and the mystery of nature. It can help us to explore our emotions and thoughts. It can help us to discover our strengths and weaknesses. It can help us to grow as human beings. The sublime is a concept that can inspire us and challenge us. It can inspire us to be creative and adventurous. It can challenge us to be brave and humble. It can inspire us to seek for knowledge and wisdom. It can challenge us to question our beliefs and values. The sublime is a concept that can make us feel alive and happy. It can make us feel alive by giving us a sense of wonder and awe. It can make us feel happy by giving us a sense of pleasure and joy. The sublime is a feeling of wonder and fear that can transform our lives and the world around us. The sublime in Eastern traditions. The sublime is a concept that has been explored by various cultures and traditions, both in the East and the West. The sublime refers to aesthetic and emotional response that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational, and that involves awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure. The sublime challenges our perceptions, imaginations, and understanding ourselves and the world. In this chapter, we will compare and contrast how the sublime is understood and expressed in three major traditions: Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism. We'll explain some of the key texts, artworks, and practices that illustrate the sublime in these traditions. We will also analyze how the sublime relates to some of the core concepts and values of these traditions, such as emptiness, nirvana, Brahman, Atman, Tao, and Wu-Wei. Buddhism and the sublime. Buddhism is a religion or philosophical tradition based on teachings attributed to the Buddha, who lived in India in the 5th or 4th century BCE. Buddhism teaches that suffering is caused by ignorance, attachments, and craving, that the way to end suffering is to follow the noble Eightfold Path of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Buddhism also teaches that everything is impermanent, interdependent, and empty of inherent existence. One of the sources of the sublime in Buddhism is nature. Nature is seen as a manifestation of the Buddha's teachings, as well as a means to realize them. Nature can inspire awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in those who observe it with mindfulness and insight. For example, in the Dhammapada, a collection of sayings attributed to the Buddha, there are verses that praise the beauty and sublimity of nature. Look at this beautiful world and see how it shines like a royal cherry. The wise do not cling to it, for they know how quickly it falls apart. The moon shines brightly among the stars, but even brighter shines the radiance of the Buddha among all beings. Another source of the sublime in Buddhism is art. Art is seen as a way to express and communicate the Buddha's teachings, as well as to evoke devotion and contemplation. Art creates a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in those who view it with reverence and understanding. For example, one of the most sublime forms of art in Buddhism is the mandala, a circular diagram that represents the cosmic order and the enlightened mind. The mandala is often used as a tool for meditation and ritual. The mandala can create a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in those who gaze at it with concentration and awareness. 6 yogas in Naropa and experiencing the sublime. The 6 yogas in Naropa are special ways of meditating that can help you become a Buddha very quickly. A Buddha is someone who is very wise and kind and can help all living beings. The 6 yogas in Naropa were taught by a great teacher from India named Naropa, who learned these from his teacher Tilopa. Naropa taught them to his student Marpa, who brought them to India. Many Tibetans have practiced these yogas and became very good at it. The 6 yogas are inner heat, tuma. This is a way of making your body feel warm and comfortable, even when it is very cold outside. You do this by imagining there's a fire inside your belly and that it spreads to your whole body. This also makes you feel very happy and clear. Illusory body. This is a way of understanding that everything you see and hear is not really solid or real, like a dream or a magic show. You do this by imagining that your body is made of light, and you can change it into different shapes and colors. You can also practice this when you are dreaming by knowing that you are dreaming and controlling your dreams. Clear light. This is a way of seeing the true nature of your mind, which is very bright and pure, like the sun or the sky. You can do this by letting go of all your thoughts and feelings and just resting in the calmness and clarity of your mind. And sentence. Transference, poem. This is a way of moving your mind from one place to another, or from one body to another. You do this by imagining that there is a hole at the top of your head, and that you can send your mind out through it. You can also use this to help people who are dying by sending their minds to a good place. Forceful projection. This is a way of creating another body for yourself, which you can use to travel to different places and learn from different teachers. You can do this by imagining that you have a very strong wind in your belly, and you can blow it out through your mouth. Then you imagine that the wind becomes a body that looks like you, but made of light. Bardo, this is this way of staying aware when you die and when you are reborn into a new life. You do this by remembering the teachings of the Buddha and by not being afraid or confused by what you see and hear. You can also try to choose a good place and a good family for your next life. These 6 yogas are very powerful and helpful, but they are also very difficult and secret. You need to have a special permission from a teacher who knows them well and who can guide you step by step. You also need to do some practices before you start these yogas, such as being kind to others, following the rules of morality, studying the teachings of the Buddha, and developing love and compassion for all beings. Sam was learning about the 6 yogas, special practice to experience the sublime. A master named Naropa taught them to his student Milarepa long ago in India. The first yoga was inner heat. It involved breathing techniques and a movement to make psychic energy flow. Milarepa practiced this yoga in snowy caves, but stayed warm. The second yoga was illusory body. Milarepa learned to transform his ordinary body into forms made of light. He could manifest multiple bodies and turn into a rainbow. The third yoga was dream state. It taught how to control dreams and explore the space between walking and sleeping. Milarepa could enter mystical dream realms. The fourth yoga was clear light. This showed how to stay aware, even in deep sleep. Milarepa retained consciousness at every moment. The fifth yoga involved controlling death, birth, and the afterlife through advanced meditation. Milarepa could transfer his spirit between different worlds. The last yoga was consciousness transference. Milarepa mastered moving his mind into other people's bodies to understand their experience. These 6 yogas, city powers to visit a sublime realms beyond normal senses, but their true goal was enlightenment through training the mind. Sam imagined how wondrous it would feel to practice the mystical yogas Milarepa learned centuries ago. By expanding his awareness, Sam too could unlock the secrets of inner space.
Intro. If you know me, you will know that I love to think outside of the box. I have been researching most of my life. It's not only intellectual knowledge, yet it's down-to-earth wisdom. You could call it the land of the mystic, feet on the ground and your head in heaven. Be practical and yet consciously live within the jewel that lies within. Call it whatever you want, but something is keeping you alive. The same power that is keeping you alive is keeping the universe alive. This is my first introduction to Tibetan formal training that I'm about ready to embark on. It's a 16-week course. Lama Glenn Mullen is presenting this course starting July 24. I'm looking forward to learning more about this ancient wisdom. Here's the beginning of this new journey. Maybe you might want to join in this adventure. Life will give you many signposts and synchronicities if you are open to them. I've been fortunate to be aware of this since childhood. When one is conscious of the inner doors, signposts and synchronicities are a part of your life. Remember, the more attention you pay to something, the more attention it pays to you. My girlfriend Anna and I were driving from Toronto to Vancouver, Canada. The year was 1974. We ran into Mahatma Rajeshwar and Bill Patterson along the way. They were going to do a TV interview and asked us if we wanted to come. We spent a few days there. Bill gave me a copy of a book about Milarepa. He was Tibet's greatest yogi. The Kagyu lineage still exists today. In fact, in Ashland, Oregon, there's a beautiful temple that comes from the Kagyu lineage. Bill unfortunately died about 10 years ago. He was well known for his kindness. I loved the book. I was extremely fascinated by his life. I love to meditate. It is a part of my life. I mean, an incredible part of my life. I had a knack for it. Fast forward about 48 years. I'm on Facebook and I see the interesting post, Tumo and 6 yoga trainings with Lama Glenn. I was quickly drawn to this. What a synchronicity. My mind went back to receiving this precious book on Milarepa many moons ago. Signposts are all around us. Buddha has been following me around for a long time. My parents had a Buddha statue, where as a kid I would get mesmerized by just staring at it. It took all my troubles and worries as a young child away. In my teens, I began a formal meditation practice, which I still do today. My practice is the foundation of my life. I once had a past life regression when my twin brother John, Mark Laurenhurst, and I were students of Buddha. I could see it in my mind's eye. Even today, I can close my eyes and visions will appear. Of course, I can't prove it, grin, yet the impressions are there. Milarepa is another guide. When I first read the book on Milarepa, it was also mesmerizing. I lived in Ashland, Oregon for some time, and it was a beautiful temple that comes from the Kagyu lineage. My wife and I went to the temple a few times, but never heard about how to study with them. Anyway, this is going to be an incredible journey. Both Buddha and Milarepa have been friends with me for such a long time. Once again, how can you explain that? Yet, I most certainly know that we are never alone. This journey is both internal and external. What can I say? We are all blessed. Intro. Hi, this is Little Ricky the Dragon. Human Ricky absolutely loves and adores dragons. It wasn't always that way. There was a period in his life he never paid attention to us. It was just like a fairy tale. Yet, Richard is married to Barbara. She has been extremely interested in dragons her entire life. They were meant to be together. Did you know that the dragon is a symbol of enlightenment in Buddhism? Dragons have been around for trillions of years. We are new kids on the block. We have a lot to learn. Just think, the dragons went through the same stuff we are going through. No one gets a free ride when it comes to enlightenment. Life is truly a video game. Carl Jung studied archetype symbols all his life. An archetype symbol holds the energy of the unconscious mind. Dragons hold the key to enlightenment. They became enlightened trillions of years before we showed up on the scene. Yet, as I said before, nobody gets a free ride. The dragons on Earth have the same problems we presently have. We have a hard time getting along with each other. Read my book, Dragon Tales, to see what I mean. I think it's amazing that many people have different sides of the story when it comes to dragons. In the East, a dragon stands for enlightenment. In time, Chinese Buddhist artists adopted the dragon as a symbol of enlightenment. Today, dragons decorate roofs and gates of temples, both as guardians and to symbolize the dragon power of clarity. Buddhist dragons often are depicted holding a mani jewel, which represents the Buddha's teaching. The symbolism behind dragons. One of the West's most famous dragon slayers was immortalized in the English book The Golden Legend, published in the 1480s. Believed to be part fact and part fiction, this story of England's patron saint, St. George, tells of a knight who came to the aid of a town besieged by a ravenous dragon. The townspeople fed it 2 sheep a day to prevent further attacks on their children, and the king begrudgingly agreed to appease the dragon with his daughter. As the princess awaited a fiery death by dragon, St. George happened upon them both. He smote the dragon into submission and told the princess to lead it home, at which point St. George killed it in front of the king. Dragons, like the one slain by St. George, symbolizes more than the natural forces of destruction. According to Carl Jung, who founded Hungarian psychotic physiologic theory, when a hero is fighting a dragon, he is actually battling his own subconscious. And when a hero struggles to save an innocent hostage, usually a beautiful maiden, it serves a dual purpose. Not only does he save an innocent life, but the act of rescuing her requires the hero's personality to develop. Not all dragons represent the id, though in Japan, Ogansho was a white dragon whose appearance signaled impending feminine. White, not black, is the color traditionally associated with death in Japan. In many cultures, maleficent dragons like Ogansho are typically depicted with their heads pointing down, while dragons that symbolize benevolence are shown with their heads pointing towards the heavens. This dichotomy between good and evil is what differentiates most Eastern and Western dragons. Western dragons symbolize destruction and death, while Eastern dragons symbolize fortune and great power, both good and bad. In Korea, for example, a dragon signifies the circle of life and is often portrayed with its body in a circular position to symbolize the culture's cyclical view of time. The Chinese zodiac, which includes a dragon, further illustrates this view. The sign, along with its 11 brethren, repeat every 12 years. Intro. If you know me, you will know that I love to think outside of the box. I have been researching most of my life. It's not only intellectual knowledge, yet it's down-to-earth wisdom. You could call it the land of a mystic, feet on the ground and your head in heaven. Be practical and yet consciously live within the jewel that lies within. Call it whatever you want, but something is keeping you alive. The same power that is keeping you alive is keeping the universe alive. This is my first introduction to Tibetan formal training that I'm about ready to embark on. It's a 16-week course. Lama Glenn Mullen is presenting this course starting July 24. I'm looking forward to learning more about this ancient wisdom. Here's the beginning of this new journey. Maybe you might want to join in this adventure. Life will give you many signposts and synchronicities if you are open to them. I've been fortunate to be aware of this since childhood. When one is conscious of the inner doors, signposts and synchronicities are a part of your life. Remember, the more attention you pay to something, the more attention it pays to you. My girlfriend Anna and I were driving from Toronto to Vancouver, Canada. The year was 1974. We ran into Mahatma Rajeshwar and Bill Patterson along the way. They were going to do a TV interview and asked us if we wanted to come. We spent a few days there. Bill gave me a copy of a book about Milarepa. He was Tibet's greatest yogi. The Kagyu lineage still exists today. In fact, in Ashland, Oregon, there's a beautiful temple that comes from the Kagyu lineage. Bill unfortunately died about 10 years ago. He was well known for his kindness. I loved the book. I was extremely fascinated by his life. I love to meditate. It is a part of my life. I mean, an incredible part of my life. I had a knack for it. Fast forward about 48 years. I'm on Facebook and I see the interesting post, Tumo and 6 yoga trainings with Lama Glenn. I was quickly drawn to this. What a synchronicity. My mind went back to receiving this precious book on Milarepa many moons ago. Signposts are all around us. Buddha has been following me around for a long time. My parents had a Buddha statue, where as a kid I would get mesmerized by just staring at it. It took all my troubles and worries as a young child away. In my teens, I began a formal meditation practice, which I still do today. My practice is the foundation of my life. I once had a past life regression when my twin brother John, Mark Lornhurst, and I were students of Buddha. I could see it in my mind's eye. Even today, I can close my eyes and visions will appear. Of course, I can't prove it, grin, yet the impressions are there. Milarepa is another guide. When I first read the book on Milarepa, it was also mesmerizing. I lived in Ashland, Oregon for some time, and there was a beautiful temple that comes from the Kagyu lineage. My wife and I went to the temple a few times, but never heard about how to study with them. Anyway, this is going to be an incredible journey. Both Buddha and Milarepa have been friends with me for such a long time. Once again, how can you explain that? Yet I most certainly know that we are never alone. This journey is both internal and external. What can I say? We are all blessed.
Intro. Hi, this is Loaded Ricky, the Dragon. Do we ever have an incredible story to tell? It may seem like a fish tale, yet it's a dragon's tale. A long, long time ago, there existed the dragon's world. Mind you, this was over 2 trillion years ago. Your universe existed only around 14.5 billion years ago. You're essentially the new kids on the block. The same nonsense and chaos you experienced the same nonsense we went through. Mind you, it wasn't a pretty picture at times. Dragons can be quite angry and destructive at times. There are many warring factions. It seems like power always comes into play with politics. Power is like cream, it rises to the top of the bottle. Yes, this cream of power almost leads us to our destruction. We had many wars just like you had. At times, we didn't know if our world would survive. We were going from darkness to light, except we didn't know that. We were oblivious of that. We had so many problems we could hardly function as a society. Chaos was in the air. When you are in constant chaos, a society can't make proper decisions. One lives like leaves blowing in the wind. We didn't know that the world could live in the center of the hurricane. We were stressed out dragons. The years of fighting and conflict really got to us. Our stress levels were off the charts. A good night's sleep was rare. This leads to many health issues. We thought this was normal. We accepted our state of mind. Unfortunately, we are playing the same tapes over and over again. We thought this is how one should live. We didn't even know that these tapes were being played. Consequently, when someone would say something we did not like, we would blow up. Mind you, when dragons blows up, it's not a pretty picture. At times, their flames could kill the other dragon. You could say we couldn't control our emotions. The concept of an inner garden didn't even exist for them. They were throwing all their garbage in their inner living room. No wonder they didn't feel good. No wonder they were cranky. Common sense was uncommon. Their world was collapsing. This is where the story gets interesting. You see, help is always there. You are the universe. You just don't know it. The Sublime and Veiled, the Secret Yogas of Tibet. In the heart of the majestic Himalayas, amidst the towering peaks and serene monasteries of Tibet, there exists a profound spiritual tradition that holds the key to unlocking the sublime. The Secret Yogas of Tibet, as eloquently unveiled by Ian Baker. The Sublime, a quest beyond the mundane. Before delving into the intricate tapestry of Tibetan yoga practices, let's understand what the sublime truly means. It's like discovering a hidden treasure, a feeling of awe, wonder, and transcendence that transcends the ordinary. The sublime is found in moments of profound beauty, in the vastness of the cosmos, and within the depths of our own consciousness. The mystical world of Tibet. Tibet is a land steeped in mysticism and spiritual wisdom. Its snow-capped peaks, prayer flags fluttering in the wind, and ancient monasteries evoke a sense of the sublime in those who venture there. It's a place where spirituality is woven into the very fabric of life. Unlocking the secrets. In the Secret Yoga of Tibet, Alvin A. Baker peels back the veil on the hidden practices of Tibetan yogis. These yogis are like spiritual explorers, diving deep into the ocean of consciousness. They seek to understand the nature of the mind, the universe, and the interconnectedness of all things. Meditation and mindfulness. One of the key ways Tibetan yogis find the sublime is through meditation. They sit in stillness, focusing their minds on the present moment. In this silence, they discover the vastness of their own awareness and the beauty of a mind uncluttered by thoughts. The power of visualization. Tibetan yogis also use the power of visualization to tap into the sublime. They imagine intricate mandalas, divine beings, and vast cosmic realms. Through these visualizations, they connect with the boundless creative potential of the mind. Breath and energy. The yogis understand that the breath is the bridge between the physical and the sublime. Through breath control and energy practices, they tap into the vitality of life itself. They feel the energy coursing through their bodies and recognize it as part of the vast cosmic dance. The sublime in everyday life. What makes the Secret Yogis of Tibet so compelling is that it reveals how the sublime is not just an esoteric concept reserved for mystics in far-off lands. It is part of our own human experience. Through mindfulness, meditation, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, we too can discover the sublime in our daily lives. Conclusion. Ian A. Baker's The Secret Yoga of Tibet serves as a bridge between the mystical world of Tibetan yogis and our own quest for the sublime. It reminds us that the sublime is not something distant, but a part of our own inner landscape. By exploring the practices and wisdom of the Tibetan yogis, we can embark on a journey of self-discovery, tapping into the profound beauty that lies within and all around us. The Yogis and the Sublime, a spiritual journey. The yogis are practitioners of yoga, a discipline that originated in India. and aims to unite the body, mind, and spirit. Yoga is derived from the Sanskrit word yu, which means to yoke or to join. The yogis seek to achieve a state of harmony and balance between themselves and the universe, as well as to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death. One of the ways that the yogis pursue their goals is by experiencing the sublime, a concept that refers to an aesthetic and emotional response that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. The sublime is a response that invokes awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure. It is a response that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding ourselves and the world. The yogis encounter the sublime in various aspects of their practice, such as nature, art, literature, and meditation. They use the sublime as a means to transcend their limitations and to connect with the divine. They also use the sublime as the source of inspiration and transformation. In this chapter, we will explore some examples of how the yogis use the sublime in their spiritual journey. Nature and the sublime. Nature is one of the most common and powerful sources of the sublime for the yogis. Nature is seen as a manifestation of the divine, as well as a teacher and a guide. Nature can inspire awe, wonder, terror, or pleasure in those who observe it with mindfulness and insight. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most sacred texts of Hinduism, which is also considered as its yoga scripture, there is a scene where Krishna, an avatar of Vishnu, reveals his cosmic form to Arjuna. His disciple and friend Krishna's form is described as sublime and terrifying. And there should suddenly rise within the skies sunburst of 1,000 suns, flooding earth with beings undeemed of, then might be the Holy One's majesty and radiance dreamed of. I see thee everywhere, thee without fault, thee thine own palace bright, though thine own jewel, thee with mace's blight, with disk, thy face I see on every side, thy awful shape filling creation wide. Arjuna is overwhelmed by Krishna's form and begs him to return to his human form. He says, "Thy shape stupendous here, with myriad eyes, mysterious, blazing, fills me with fear. Touch me not, I am afraid." Krishna's form is an example of the sublime in nature because it expresses his supreme power and glory that transcends human comprehension. It also evokes a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in Arjuna, who realizes his insignificance and dependence on Krishna. Art and the sublime. Art is another source of the sublime for the yogis. Art is seen as a way to express and communicate the divine, as well to evoke devotion and contemplation. Art can create a sense of awe, wonder, terror, or pleasure in those who view it with reverence and understanding. For example, one of the most sublime forms of art in Buddhism is the mandala, a circular diagram that represents the cosmic order and the enlightened mind. The mandala is often used as a tool for meditation and ritual. The mandalas can create a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in those who gaze at it with concentration and awareness. The mandala consists of 4 concentric circles, an outer circle that symbolizes protection, an inner circle that symbolizes purification, a square with 4 gates that symbolizes wisdom and a center that symbolizes enlightenment. The mandala also contains various images of Buddhas, bodhisattvas, enlightened beings, deities, animals, plants, colors, shapes, symbols, etc., that have specific meanings and functions. The mandala is an example of the sublime because it expresses the ultimate reality that transcends ordinary perception. It also invokes a sense of awe. The Yoga Sutras, Discovering the Sublime. Once upon a time, in a world full of wonders and mysteries, there lived a wise teacher named Patanjali. He wanted to help people understand how to find peace and happiness in their hearts, just like you, my young friend. The Yoga Sutras, a guide to happiness. Patanjali wrote a special book called the Yoga Sutras. Now, don't let the word yoga confuse you. In this book, yoga doesn't mean bending your body into funny shapes. It's about finding harmony and joy inside yourselves. In the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali shared some valuable secrets about how to live a good and happy life. One of the most important things he talked about is something called the sublime. What is the sublime? Imagine that you have a treasure chest hidden inside you. This treasure chest is full of happiness, peace, and love. Patanjali said that discovering the treasure is like finding something incredibly special and beautiful. That special feeling is what he calls the sublime. How to find the sublime? Patanjali gave us some steps, like a magical map, to help us find the treasures of the sublime. Being kind. One of the keys to finding the sublime is to be kind to others. When you help someone or make a friend smile, it's like adding precious gems to your treasure chest. Feeling calm. Patanjali taught when you're calm and quiet, your treasure chest opens up a little bit. You can become calm by taking slow, deep breaths and thinking happy thoughts. Being honest. Telling the truth and being honest with yourself and others is like polishing the gems in your treasure chest, making them shine even brighter. Being content. Contentment means being happy with what you have instead of always wanting more. When you're content, your treasure chest becomes fuller. Practicing patience. Sometimes you may have to wait for good things to happen. Patanjali said that being patient is like planting seeds in your treasure chest, and one day they'll grow into beautiful flowers. Why the sublime matters. Patanjali believes that when you discover the sublime inside yourself, you'll feel happier, kinder, and more peaceful. It's like having a magical power to make your life and the lives of others better. So my young friend, remember that you have a treasure chest full of the sublime inside you. All you need to do is follow Patanjali's magic map of kindness, calmness, honesty, contentment, and patience to find it. And when you do, you'll have the secret to a truly happy and wonderful life. The sublime in the works of famous yogis and mystics. The sublime is a concept that refers to a aesthetic an emotional response that goes beyond the ordinary and the rational. The sublime is a response that involves awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure. It is a response that challenges our perception, imagination, and understanding of ourselves and the world. Many yogis and mystics who are practitioners of spiritual discipline that aim to attain union with the divine or the ultimate reality have used the sublime in their works. They have expressed their experiences and insights of the sublime through various forms of art, literature, music, and poetry. They have also used the sublime as a means to inspire, transform, and liberate themselves and others. In this chapter, we will explore some examples of how the sublime is used in the works of famous yogis and mystics from different traditions and times. We will examine how they convey the sublime through the use of language, imagery, sound, symbols, stories, and examples. We will also analyze how the sublime relates to some of the core concepts and values of their traditions, such as yoga, nirvana, Brahman, Atman, Tao, and Wu-Wei. The Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, a divine talk that teaches us. The Bhagavad Gita is like a super important book in Hinduism. It is a bit like a superhero comic where Krishna, who's like a really cool god, talks to Arjuna, a brave warrior. They have a big chat just before a huge battle, learning different kinds of yoga. Now, when they talk, they're just not discussing battle plans. They talk about something called yoga, but it's not about stretching or exercise like you might think. This kind of yoga is more like different ways to be a really good person. Karma yoga. This is about doing good stuff and not expecting anything in return. It's like being kind without asking for a reward. Bhakti yoga. It's all about love and devotion, like when you really, really love someone and care about them a lot. Jnana yoga. This one is about gaining knowledge and understanding. It's like wanting to know all the answers than being super smart. Raja yoga. This is the meditation kind of yoga. It's when you sit quietly and try to find peace inside yourself. Feeling totally amazed. So why is the Bhagavad Gita so special? Well, it's because it talks about really, really amazing things that are almost too big for our minds to understand. It's like when you see something so awesome that it gives you goosebumps. Krishna's mind-blowing form. One of the most amazing parts is when Krishna shows Arjuna his super God form. It's like trying to picture 1,000 suns shining at once. Arjuna is so blown away that he gets scared and asks Krishna to turn back into his regular self. Why is it so amazing? The Bhagavad Gita is like a magical storybook that uses beautiful words and pictures to make us feel amazed, excited, and sometimes a little scared. It's like reading about a superhero's superpowers. The way they talk in the Bhagavad Gita makes it feel like music or poetry. It's like hearing a really cool song that gives you good feelings inside. Symbols that mean a lot. In the Bhagavad Gita, they use words and pictures to show how beautiful Krishna is. They talk about things like maces, big clubs, and discs like frisbees to tell us how strong and wise Krishna is. They even use animals and gods to show how important he is. It's kind of like using symbols to tell a secret code that only the wise can understand. So the Bhagavad Gita is not just a regular book. It's a magical adventure that helps us understand how to be really good people and how amazing the world can be. It's like the disc, Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. The Songs of Milarepa. The Songs of Milarepa are a collection of poems by Milarepa, a Tibetan Buddhist yogi and mystic who lived in the 11th century CE. Milarepa was a murderer who repented his sins and became a disciple of Marpa, a master of Tantric Buddhism. Milarepa practiced meditation in caves and mountains and attained enlightenment in one lifetime. He composed his songs spontaneously to teach and inspire his followers and others. The songs of Milarepa are an example of the sublime in music because they express the profound wisdom and bliss of Milarepa that transcends ordinary experience. They also evoke a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in the listeners who are invited to share Milarepa's vision of nirvana. One of the most sublime songs of Milarepa is the Song of a Yogi's Joy, which he sang after achieving the rainbow body, a state of perfect realization. The song is as follows. I bow down at the feet of my Guru Marpa and sing this song in response to you. Listen, pay heed to what I say. Forgive your critique for a while. I am happy that I met my Guru Marpa and received his profound instructions. I am happy that I met my Guru Marpa and practiced diligently what he taught. I am happy that I realized the nature of mind and cut through the roots of ignorance. I am happy that I realized the nature of mind and have no fear of death and rebirth. I am happy that I crossed the ocean of samsara and reached the shore of nirvana. I am happy that I crossed the ocean of samsara and have no attachment to anything. I am happy that I attained the rainbow body and become one with all Buddhas. I am happy that I achieved the rainbow body and have nothing left to accomplish. This is my song of a yogi's joy, a song that reveals my heart. This is my song of a yogi's joy, a song that may benefit others. Milarepa's magical song, A Journey into Wonder. Imagine reading a very special song, a song that feels like magic. Milarepa, a wise person from a long time ago, wrote this song, and it's full of amazing things that makes you go, wow. Feeling the magic in words, Milarepa's song is like a secret code that makes us feel really good. It uses simple words that are easy to understand. He says things, I am happy, and when we read it, it makes us feel happy too. Pictures in your mind. The song also paints pictures in your head. It's like when you read a storybook and you could see the characters and places in your imagination. Milarepa talks about the nature of mind and compares it to a rainbow, which makes us think about beautiful and colorful things. Music in your ear. When you read the song out loud, it sounds like music. The words have a special rhythm that makes you want to tap your feet or nod your head. It's like a catchy song that you can't help but sing along with. Milarepa's song even has words that rhyme, like say and pay, which sounds cool when you say them together. Hidden messages. But here's the real cool part. Milarepa's songs is like a treasure hunt. It has hidden messages that you need to find. He talks about things like feet and rainbow that mean more than they seem. These things represent Milarepa's special qualities and how he sees the world. The big idea. The whole song is about how Milarepa learned important lessons in life. He talks about being grateful, being humble, and by being generous. He tells us that life has good times and hard times, just like the ocean has calm shores and big waves. But through it all, he found happiness and freedom. So when you read Milarepa's songs, it's like going on a magical adventure, filled with happiness and wisdom. It's a song that makes you feel good inside and helps you understand how to be a really good person. It's like discovering a treasure chest of joy and wonder. The Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is one of the most influential texts of Taoism, a philosophical and religious tradition that originated in China. It is a tribute to Lao Tzu, a legendary sage who lived in the 6th or 5th century BCE. The Tao Te Ching consists of 81 short chapters that teaches the principles and practices of the Tao or the Way, which is the source and essence of all things. The Tao Te Ching is an example of the sublime in poetry because it expresses the mysterious and paradoxical nature of the Tao that transcends human logic. It also evokes a sense of awe, wonder, terror, and pleasure in the readers who are invited to share Lao Tzu's vision of reality. One of the most sublime chapters of the Tao Te Ching is Chapter 1, which introduces the theme of the whole text. It is as follows. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. The name is the mother of myriad things. This constantly without desire, one observes its essence. Constantly with desire, one observes its manifestations. These two emerge together, but differ in nature. The unity is said to be the mysterious. Mysteries of mysteries, the door to all windows. Lao Tzu's poems convey the sublime through its use of language, imagery, sound, and symbol. The language is concise and cryptic, using negation, not, contrast, without and with, parallelism, the Tao Te Ching, finding the sublime in simplicity. Once upon a time, in the land of ancient wisdom and gentle breezes, there was a book called the Tao Te Ching. It was like a treasure map that showed people how to find something very special, the sublime. What is the sublime? Imagine you have a cozy blanket on a chilly day, a hug from someone you love, or the feeling of a warm sunbeam on your face. All these things make you feel happy, safe, and full of wonder. That special feeling is what the Tao Te Ching calls the Sublime. The Way of the Tao. The Tao Te Ching is a guide like a wise friend that tells us how to discover the sublime in our daily lives. It talks about something called the Tao, which is like the natural way of the world, the way things are meant to be. The beauty of simplicity. One important lesson from the Tao Te Ching is about simplicity. It says that sometimes the simplest things are the most beautiful and full of the sublime, like the soft sound of raindrops, the gently rustling of leaves, or a kind smile from a friend. Flowing like water. The Tao Te Ching also tells us to be like water. Water is soft and gentle, but it can also be strong and powerful. Water flows around obstacles and always finds its way. When we learn to be flexible and patient, just like water, we can discover the sublime in life. Balancing yin and yang. The book talks about yin and yang, which are like opposites that balance each other. Yin is calm and quiet like the nighttime, while yang is active and bright like the daytime. The Tao Te Ching tells us that finding a balance between yin and yang helps us to find the sublime in our daily lives. Why the sublime matters? When we discover the sublime, we become like a calm pond, reflecting the beauty around us. We find happiness in small moments and feel connected to the world. The Tao Te Ching shows us that by living simply, being like water, and finding balance, we can experience the sublime every day. So, my young friend, remember the lessons from the Tao Te Ching. Look for the beauty in simplicity, be like water, and find balance in your life. When you do, you'll discover the sublime, and your world will be full of wonder and happiness.
Intro. I have always been fascinated by the East. As a young child, my parents had a statue of the Buddha and a painting of Kuan Yin. Sitting on my bookshelf lies a copy of the Tao Te Ching. It has been sitting there for many moons. Mind you, many of you probably weren't born. It's been that long. My favorite part is the opening. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees the manifestation. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. Whenever I read this, it sends shivers down my spine. How eloquently said. This was written by Lao Tzu about 300 BC. I love good mysteries. My brother and I are extremely curious. Ever since I was a kid, I actively pursued the great mysteries. About 6 months ago, I started to do a Qigong practice. I love it. I've been practicing every day. Recently, with the worldwide shutdown, I had some time on my hands. In my morning meditations, I thought I would read the Tao Te Ching and absorb it. I find scriptures fascinating. There is a great mystery to be solved. Each sacred book talks about, in their own subtle ways, how to discover the jewel within. Lao Tzu was one of them. The most books ever sold except for the Bible was the Tao Te Ching. It was sitting on my bookshelf waiting patiently for me to open it up. The Tao is ever so patient. It took billions of years for man to appear on Earth. Modern-day scientists and mystics are talking about the Tao using a different way of expressing it. Scientists call the Tao the quantum field. This field exists beyond time and space. It was, is, and will always be. It exists in all dimensions. Yet centuries before Christ, the sage, discovered the Tao, or the way. It wasn't a philosophy. They had first-hand experience of it. These teachings are more relevant today. The world is in chaos. The Tao Te Ching can help humanity to discover the jewel inside. Remember, you can talk about a mango, yet without trying a mango, it's just book knowledge. The Tao is a practical path. At times, I think humanity wants to give their offering once a week and call it quits. Maybe this worldwide shutdown will be an opening call. Only time will tell. There are 81 short quotes. I'm putting my commentary for each. I use the word ponder a lot in my writings. I'm pondering deep inside myself to understand this precious wisdom. I don't want to skim the surface. Anybody can do that. I want to discover the pearls of wisdom for each one. I hope you enjoy the book.